Welcome to Aligned to Impact, the podcast where conscious leadership meets bold entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Summmer Huntington, and each week we dive deep with founders, innovators, and thought leaders who are rewriting the rules of business from the inside out. Here we talk mindset, brand, content, culture, the real stuff behind building a legacy-driven business that doesn't burn you out. No filters, no fluff, just real conversations that inspire aligned action and intentional impact. If you're a visionary leader ready to create with purpose, grow with integrity, and lead with your heart, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
I have an advisor that has a marketing background that I've been working with, and we're starting to go through those exercises because when I first started the corporation, like Illu Innovations and the logo and all of that kind of stuff is what I created so that I could start the corporation. But now that I have my target demographic more in mind, now that I have the branding future vision in mind, now I need to go through the actual exercises, or we need to go through the actual exercises of making sure that it's tailored and aligned with the market we're going after.
Welcome, Micah, to Aligned Impact podcast. Super pumped to have you here. So Micah is based out of California, and he is a solo startup entrepreneur for a new, very innovative product, which is called the Breathing Light, and his company is Illu Innovations. Micah, go ahead and introduce a little bit about how you got into building this amazing product that helps people with stress through light.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always had a background my entire life being fascinated by self-growth and self-awareness. And, when I was young, I had undiagnosed ADHD, which was terrible. And in the quest of figuring out what was happening, how do I fix this? How do I get to know myself better? How do I, make myself a stronger, more resilient person? Just sort of led to like a lifetime of learning about psychology and physiology and, polyvagal theory and all of this stuff. And then a number of years ago, I was in a relationship where co-regulating and, the nervous system and more psychology and more of this self-growth ended up being like really a big focus. Then went through a very a sudden traumatic divorce, and then all of a sudden I was thrown into even more of a let's learn about how I work and how to take care of myself and how to really attack self-care from a scientific angle. And so one day I was in a IKEA messing around with the lamps, as one does, and I was taking a lampshade that had all of these perforations, and I took it and I put it over the top of a lamp base that still had the light bulb on. And as I put it over the top of the base, all of the shadows on the wall went like, whoa. And I was like, oh, holy shit, this is really cool. Oh, wow. And I start messing around with the rhythm that I'm moving it. And I'm like, and so I start getting into this rhythm of making it breathe. And it felt like the whole room was breathing around me because of this lampshade. And I was like, oh man, this is amazing. And then all of a sudden, like literally decades of all of this learning sort of like snapped very quickly. I was like, oh, this would be amazing to co-regulate with. Oh man, this would be amazing to do meditation or breath work with. Oh man, this would be great for your, regulating your nervous system. Oh man, my ex really could have used this when she was having panic attacks. This would have been amazing for helping her self-arrest a panic attack if I wasn't around. Actually, one of the big clicks was when she would have a panic attack, I would have to grab her and hold her head against my chest. And I would take deep breaths, and eventually she'd be able to synchronize it with me and then snap out of it. And I was like, well, if the entire room is breathing around you, this is such an amazing, immersive visual cue to remind you to breathe when your nervous system isn't allowing you to use your frontal lobe and say like, hey, just breathe, just take a deep breath. So I had the idea. I immediately went online and looked for other products that did this because it seemed like very obvious, very low-hanging fruit. But I didn't find anything that created this effect. So I went to a patent lawyer and did an actual patent search, and they came back and they're like, yeah, there's nothing. So I went through a long and arduous process of actually getting it patented. And after, I think it took 18 months of getting it patented, I was traveling around the US and van lifing and enjoying my freedom around the US. And then while I was waiting for the patent, I was like, I'll take more advantage of my flexibility. So I went and backpacked through East Asia for a year. And then I was down in East Asia and I get an email like, your patent's been granted. And I was like, oh my God, they actually gave it to me. So I came running back to the US to start the company. And I have been working on developing the prototypes. I have the proof of concepts, team building. I have a number of advisors and looking for co-founders, and marketing, offering pre-sales through the website, and just taking this idea and making it an actual thing, launching a company. And it's my first startup, and it's a lot. It's a very interesting process, a lot of stuff to learn.
That is incredible. I'm so glad you shared the story. And for those of you guys that are listening in on the podcast and not watching the video, imagine probably about a foot long, and it kind of looks, to me, it looks like a morel mushroom. It's got some like morel vibes in it.
I actually call it the morel design because
Really?
like I was originally, if I was better at Fusion 360, like I'm learning how to do all of these things in order to create this prototype. So if I was better at Fusion 360, I was imagining this like Fibonacci spiral that came up in like a little different shape. But with my limited capabilities, I came up with this design that I love the way it looks, but it really does look like a morel mushroom. It's almost like a tall, elongated football with this morel mushroom lattice work that lets the light out and then projects the shadows onto the wall.
And so it projects the shadows onto the wall. I just want to describe it for our audio listeners.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the mechanism of how it then allows you to co-regulate with the light in the room through the pulsation of the light?
Well, absolutely. It's so exciting, and I love it. So I call it a dynamic shadow lamp. And if you imagine, a shadow lamp that has a base and then this lattice work lampshade that goes over the top of it, there's a light source inside of the lamp that oscillates up and down. And it oscillates up and down at ideal breathing rhythms for stress and anxiety reduction. So, it'll go inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for 6 seconds, or you can do box breathing or 4-7-8 breathing. But because that the light source is oscillating inside, the shadows that it projects through that lattice work, and so it's showing shadows on the wall, those shadows also oscillate at that ideal breathing rate. And so the entire room around you is rising and falling with these immersive breathing cues. And then it will also have sound incorporated to it. So you can have like white noise or the sound of waves that rises and falls along with the light. I'm trying to figure out like, how can I make this the most beautiful experience, but also the most scientifically valid solution for this? So I want to have multiple cues. Even if you close your eyes, you have the rising and falling of the sound, and then you open your eyes and it's perfectly in time with the light around you. And it's a really beautiful experience. The proof of concept prototypes that I have so far, I've had just a wonderful time testing them, spending time with them, enjoying them.
Amazing. And the product itself is the breathing light. When are you releasing that to the public, or has it already been released? I'm sure by the time we drop this podcast, it'll be out. But
well, so my website, which is illuinnovations.com, I'm selling pre-orders as a way to sort of crowdfund this next development stage. And I have a electrical engineer that is helping me kind of finalize the MVP electronics inside of the lamp. There's a lot of stages of developing a consumer electronic product, particularly something that's has electronics, so it has to go through like certification processes, have to find sourcing and all of this logistics. And then also we're doing this in the middle of what feels like a societal / political global collapse, which is phenomenal. So, I mean, what a great time to try developing a stress and anxiety product, right? So I will hopefully have the first set of pre-orders ready to go out by the end of the year. But there's also a chance of, I'm developing this MVP and I'm going to produce 50 or 100 of them for beta testing and looking for pilot programs and spas and studios and psychologists and people that can test these out to validate the product, figure out what needs to be optimized a little more before it actually gets distributed to the general public.
Love it. Well, I feel like yoga studios would be a really good one for that, because they don't
know.
always have the best light. And in the studios that I've been to, they have kind of some wonky little like red light, in the corner that's just DIY. It'd be nice to have something that's really commercial and could really help the room breathe, because we're just breathing in the room the whole time.
Yeah, and like they have existing lights that get brighter and dimmer, but it really doesn't create a sense of motion. But like every time I do yoga, I'm imagining being in like warrior pose, and then the whole room is saying like, hey, you have to breathe through this too. You can't just be like holding your breath as your face turns red. You have to breathe
I
through
love
it.
it. I think it's going to be such a hit, and there's thousands and thousands of yoga studios around the country. So it's just a matter of getting in front of them. I'll do everything I can to help get the word out there.
I appreciate that.
So walk me through a day in the life of kind of your role as CEO of this company. What does the day in the life look like, a typical day for you?
I'm sure a lot of small business owners say that there is no typical day. And especially, I recently moved down to San Diego. And so there's a lot of time being spent sort of orienting myself to San Diego and going to a lot of networking events and trying to find out where my small business and startup resources are. But I just spend like so much time researching and learning about developing my pitch deck and financial models and trying to create all of the infrastructure that a startup needs to actually start approaching potential investors to get this thing produced. I'm also working with, like I said, my electrical engineer and I sat down and went over what the existing parts of the guts of the light look like and what pieces I wanted to improve and what functions I wanted to add and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of meetings with business people that are in the ecosystems of startups that could point me towards legal help or potential investors or someone that would be like really interested in the product that could be a potential pilot program. So it almost feels like, when I'm not spending time on my computer, I'm having meetings trying to dig around and find these resources, find these people that can help me make this a reality. So I would say 70% of my time feels like it's hunting for resources and gathering resources and trying to set up this structure that can help me turn this into an actual feasible business.
It's going to get there. I can feel it. It's not a matter of if, it's just when.
Yeah, I'm so optimistic about it. I mean, and I have a patent for it. So I have, 20 years of protection and it's a very broadly worded patent too. It covers all of these different ways of building the lamp, but it also just says, if there's an oscillating light source that guides your breathing, that's covered, and so that's really, really exciting, and gives me sort of a sense of patience within the purpose. So I don't feel like panicked that I need to rush to the point of making mistakes and losing the opportunity. It's like, okay, the universe is going to make this happen at the time that it needs to happen. And I just need to continue, working my butt off and finding all those resources.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm in the realm of digital marketing and email list building and content. So I'm curious, how's it going with building out kind of the brand, I would say? Like, have you got kind of ideas or maybe starting to get brewing ideas about what your brand promises and how to communicate that visually in social media and marketing?
I have an advisor that has a marketing background that I've been working with, and we're starting to go through those exercises because when I first started the corporation, like Illu Innovations and the logo and all of that kind of stuff is what I created so that I could start the corporation. But now that I have my target demographic more in mind, now that I have the branding future vision in mind, now I need to go through the actual exercises, or we need to go through the actual exercises of making sure that it's tailored and aligned with the market we're going after. So the target market we're going after is millennial women with stress and anxiety. And it just seems like such a wonderful product market fit that this product is something that would like resonate really strongly with that demographic would be very excited to embrace a product like this. And also there's a lot of surveys and stats saying that 62% of US adults have stress and anxiety, and women are twice as likely to have a anxiety or panic disorder. And I think 35% of consumers say that they're not satisfied with the current solutions for stress and anxiety. So they're still looking for that thing that can actually make a big difference. So, like you said, we're going through the exercises to figure out how to make the brand the most resonant with that demographic. And it's a difficult thing to say, well, we don't want to necessarily like try to copy that demographic. We want to be what is attractive to that demographic. And those are two different things. Luckily, the marketing person that I'm working with is a millennial woman with anxiety, and she's also worked in very large companies specializing in this target demographic as well. So having her insight and help has been really beneficial. But yeah, we're sort of in the process of doing that because like we have a simple website up, but now we're expanding the website. We have the simple branding established, but now we're developing the branding further. Like everything is in that liminal stage of like, all right, we've landed on the beach, but now we need to start like building the empire that we see in our minds.
Yeah, I mean, my brain kind of goes in visual. So as you're talking, I'm seeing it like available in every yoga studio. You walk out and you've got your yoga mat, your yoga towel, and like on the shelf, you could grab your breathing light. And it just makes sense, right? Because it's in the studio and then you bring it with you. And then my second thought was therapists, like you go to your therapy, there's small private practices, there's bigger commercial, there's outpatient. And just being able to purchase a tool and then take it home and then continue to breathe. Like breathing is the thing that is going to heal you from the stress, and having a tool that just makes you breathe better. It's a win-win.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm really excited about is that it's teaching people, like not only are they breathing along with the light, but it is also like teaching them resilience. And so instead of just, like a weighted blanket is great, but it's really just soothing the symptoms of anxiety. Teaching somebody how to use their breath to manage their emotional state is teaching them the core foundation of how to approach life differently and have that resilience and not be as anxious and flustered by the same stimuli that has affected them in the past. And so you're making something that makes people's lives better. One thing that's really fun, like imagine if you're a parent with a small child. Yeah, you could have one of these lamps in the child's room as they're waking up or falling asleep, or if they have a temper tantrum and they, instead of being on a timeout as a punishment, you say like, hey, why don't you go sit with the lamp and use your breathing to learn how to regulate your emotional state using breath work from, they're way too young to even understand what you're talking about, but they know that if they breathe along with this lamp, they calm down and they feel a sense of control.
Oh yeah. That's a huge market too, because babies, I mean, I have a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old. My 3-year-old does not like to go to bed when it's dark, but having a breathing light that gives her a task to do to help her calm her nervous system before bed, that looks cool as well.
Yeah, when I first came up with this, I liked saying that induces a meditative state, because what you're doing is like, when I meditate, I prefer meditating with my eyes open and looking at a candle or something in front of me and sort of like loosely focusing on that, because your sight is such a rich sensory input. And so this light, it's giving you this pattern that's rising and falling, but you're just watching it. Your brain is focused on this thing that is very calming and repetitive and hypnotic and rhythmic. And so you're just being lulled by this pattern rather than sitting there with your eyes closed and trying to push away thoughts. if you're meditating with your eyes closed and you're just trying to let the thoughts float by without actually um, interacting with them, it's so much easier to do if you have something that's like a little bit of a passive distraction. So I know there's so many other verticals, and that's the thing is like I'm being very disciplined about saying like, okay, we have the beachhead market, go, get the beachhead market, and then we can talk about expanding into other vertical markets. Or one thing is a really large possibility on the horizon is licensing. Since we have the patent and the IP, you could make wall-mounted units and put these in institutional applications as well. Because what would be better for stressful public spaces like hospitals, schools, prisons, ERs, nursing homes, airports, high crime areas, than having these like gently oscillating lights, and somebody comes into the airport, or somebody comes into the prison, or somebody comes into the hospital, and you're like, hey, see these lights? Just, if you start getting stressed, just breathe along with the lights. Super chill, super easy. It literally doesn't take any more explanation than that. And people are like, oh, wow, yeah, no, this is great. As long as I remember to breathe and I have this little tiny cue that reminds me to breathe, you see drastic benefit.
Absolutely. Especially hospital rooms. I feel like you're right on the money with that one.
Oh my God, I know. And you're just stuck in a hospital bed, like in an ICU. And if you're sitting in the ICU or an ER or whatever, and you have that reminder to everything's gonna be okay. Just take a deep breath, you'll be fine.
Well, I will definitely help you stay focused on the millennial women, which is definitely a demographic I know very well, being a millennial. I think technically I'm a millennial myself, but I do work with a lot of women that have anxiety and that would really benefit from having your product. So a couple questions to kind of shift gears. So think about kind of the industry that you're in, which is essentially products that are helping people with stress, which there's all sorts of different products. What do you feel like are some trends in the industry of creating these products that help us with stress, specifically with breathing? And how are you staying ahead of the trends and kind of continuing to pioneer?
So I would say, particularly with breathing, there's two different directions that things seem to be going, and that is app-based things like Calm and Headspace. And of course, there's a slew of others, but apps, Calm and Headspace seem to be the biggest ones. Now, these are great. They're guided meditations, or you are looking at your phone and it has little moving cues or something on it that is telling you when and how to breathe. The thing that I really, really love about my product, the breathing light, is that it's something that you can have on in the background as you go about and live your life, and you're not on a screen. You don't have to hold your phone and look at your phone for even more than you already do during your day. You can put your phone down, cook dinner, read a book, hang out with your kids, hang out with your pets, live your life as this is happening in the background. And so it's significantly more passive, and also significantly more easy to incorporate into your daily patterns. The other direction is there are like vibrating wearables like Sensate, or there's a inhaler called the Call Me Go that you put in your mouth, and it looks just like a regular inhaler. But as you breathe and inhale and exhale, it sort of like guides your breathing through, there's lights, there's vibrations, but at the same time, you have an inhaler in your mouth, and it feels very awkward. And to me, it's like, it's very techy, it's very awkward. And then same thing with the Sensate is a vibrating wearable that you wear around your neck, and it has this, I don't know, kind of stone looking thing that vibrates when you're supposed to breathe. But at the same time, like you have to wear this thing, you have it around you. It feels very techy, and it's not as encapsulating. It's not as immersive as like having the whole room breathe around you is like really beautiful and hypnotic, and you feel like you're in a flower that's opening and closing, or it's just much more of a pleasing aesthetic experience. And so like, even my friends that don't have stress and anxiety, they love sitting around with the light, just as this like beautiful, funky mood lighting. It's just like really pleasant to be around. And so having something that sort of like straddles those two things of it's simple and intuitive to use, but it's not too techy. It's more like beautiful and aesthetic and vibe setting. This is a device that if you got home or if you brought friends over and it was sitting out on the table, it's just like, beautiful, interesting, artistic, sculptural lamp. And they're like, oh my God, what is this thing? This is beautiful. And then they're like, oh yeah, I'll turn it on. You have to sit on the couch and like watch it do this thing. It's really fun. Rather than saying, oh yeah, that's my inhaler. Put it in your mouth and I'll show you. I'll show you how it calms me down when I'm upset. So it's really the experiential aspect of it that I'm the most excited about. I think that's its main benefit.
Amazing. It does take a while to kind of understand it, and I'm glad we're really dissecting it, because when you're talking to me as a millennial woman, I'm like, I want to buy this right now. Like, I want this in my house. I actually want one in every single room, especially my kids' room.
Yeah.
So I think once more people hear about it, understand it, I think the long form content angle for you, just being able to, and your voice is actually very soothing as well. And you guys that are listening to the audio clip, he's doing this thing with his hands where he's kind of undulating the room, breathing in this like pulsation. It reminds me of kind of being undersea and like seeing the seaweed kind of move.
Yeah, that's all a fun way to think about it. Like, imagine being underwater and all of that light pattern of the sun on the water is like happening around you. And you're like, oh, this is great. Yeah. And so one thing I'm incredibly excited about is like the big milestone that's sort of happening as we speak is that this electrical engineer that's helping me out with the MVP prototype, when he gets this back, I'm going to have like the lamp that has smooth movement, that has the features, and I can take a demo video and have good high quality video of the lamp, doing its thing on the website, on social media. And I feel like the second people see the video, they're going to be like, oh, I get it. Now I understand. And oh my God, this is amazing. And I want to be in that room. And doesn't this look incredibly relaxing? I have this like video shot in my head that I really, really want to capture. And it's just the lamp that's sort of close to you, but in the back of the room's like, dim, but not too dark. But there's a woman sitting on her couch with a nice blanket over her lap. And she's like, has her mug of tea and she's reading a book and her cat's laying next to her. And the whole room is doing this in the background. And you look at that picture and you're just like, oh God, I want to be there so bad. And so when I'm able to really convey that, that sense of experience to other people, I think that it will click.
So
hopefully within a week or two.
What could help you to continue in this journey of, obviously you're still in the startup phases, the product's not going to be out probably till the end of the year. Yeah. Realistically, like, can you scale the pre-orders, or can you scale, commercial wholesale accounts, or what's going to help you move the needle, just for our listeners that are out there and want to get their hands on a product, or also want to be part of just getting this off the ground?
Pre-orders are definitely something that are massively helpful, because funding through this stage, being pre-seed and being pre-revenue and in this development stage is really difficult, because your bandwidth versus revenue are at odds with each other. So pre-orders are absolutely amazing. But also, exactly what we're doing, this getting the word out, this marketing and spreading the word and PR, and like letting the world know, like, hey, there's this really cool thing that's in development. And then I'm also in the process of raising my very first round of funding, pre-seed, using Safe Notes. If you've ever invested and know what Safe Notes are, they're a very simple but very safe way of investing small amounts into a company, rather than being a big accredited, angel investor or venture capitalist. You can invest small amounts through the Safe Notes. Otherwise, I'm also really looking for psychologists, potential pilot programs where they say, wow, this is such a cool idea. I would love to have some of these lamps in my office, my clinic, my practice, my spa, um, to really start gathering that information of, okay, what's the response? How effective is it? And what needs to be tweaked before we release the product to the world. So beta testing, pilot programs. And then when it comes to larger investors, I really, 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 really want to make this company as ethical and transparent and socially responsible as possible. It's been really disheartening to see all of the political news lately about how uh, I don't know, greedy or singularly focused on financials companies can be. And this entire company is about making people's lives better. So I want to walk the walk, and get registered as a public benefit corporation. Somewhere down the road, be a certified B corporation. Have a very diverse team around me. And find mission-aligned investors that realize that this is something that they really want to support, but they understand that this is a mission-driven company rather than a profit-driven company. Like I still want it to be successful. I still want it to be, profitable and lucrative, but there is a bigger purpose to it. I want to improve lives and make the world a better place and source things ethically and responsibly and avoid, I, I don't know, you just always hear about all these scandals with companies that, oh, they
Well,
have.
I think a lot of times people think having a profitable business is a bad thing, but having lucrative, I like how you use the word lucrative. That's a really great
Yeah.
switch up of the words. Because when you're profitable, you can do all those extra things. Like you can source natural products, you can pay your team better, you can have a larger team and invest
Mhm.
more in the company. And so it sounds like there'll be, I've actually looked into getting my business at a yoga studio for about 7 years, FlowShala, and looked into B Corp certification.
Oh,
Had a
beautiful.
friend come in and do a big B Corp audit, and yeah, I mean it's not, I mean it's challenging to get. Patagonia is one of the companies that
Mhm.
they referenced on their study that's like definitely B Corp certified. And
That's
for
right.
those of you guys that don't know what B Corp is, how would you explain B Corp?
There's a public benefit corporation and then there's a B Corp. And a public benefit corporation is relatively simple to acquire. You just have to change the bylaws and policies of your company to say, hey, we're going to be mission focused rather than profit focused, and we are going to put these considerations ahead of profit. And then you're legally obligated to follow that strategy. Certified B Corp is another step past that, and that's where you actually have this outside organization come in, audit your company, make sure that all of your practices are legit, like you say they are, and then they give you the certification and the B Corp stamp of approval, and then you get to put that on your product and advertise that you are indeed certified and legit as a benefits corporation. So yeah, there's a lot of great examples like Athleta, Ben and Jerry's. There's a long list of B corporations, and they're all the companies that you think of. Patagonia is probably one of my favorite ones.
And essentially
Companies.
it's being more environmental, it's having more social justice interwoven into your business. There's a bunch of like criteria that are that in order to get the B Corp cert that you
fair trade labor practices, making sure you're not running sweatshops in Asia.
Exactly, for product. All right, so I'm curious, where do you see yourself in 12 months to 2 years from now? Where do you want to be as a business owner?
As a business owner, in 12 to 24 months, by that point, we will be manufacturing our first batch of lights that are going out to all the pre-orders. We are starting to get lots of PR. The PR around the company is like really exciting. So we're getting interviews and spotlights in newspapers and magazines and like online blogs, and people are realizing like, oh, this product is really beneficial and it does things different, but at the same time, it's beautiful and like we want to be around it. And then I start getting pilot programs where these are going into those institutional applications that I talked about. And so as a business owner, I'm probably going to be, running around like crazy, managing a whole lot of this company that's developing around me, but in a really exciting way of, oh my God, what I'm doing is actually catching and growing and changing the world. And, getting that feedback from the beta test program and then the first shipment out of people saying, I do breathing practices every day with this, or I have it on in the background and it makes a huge difference in my life, or my child sleeps so much better, or I've always had trouble meditating and this is incredible. Like starting to hear those testimonials that it's actually helping people is something that I'm really, really, really looking forward to. Of just knowing like I did something. I did something positive.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Micah, for being on Aligned to Impact podcast. I'm just so excited to see how the brand grows, and we'll be definitely staying in touch.
Yeah, and please follow along on Illu Innovations on Instagram, or illuinnovations.com is the website. You can go on the website for pre-orders. The social media and the website and everything is getting updated and modernized. And like I said, once I get the product video, I'm very excited to show that to everybody. But yeah, if you have questions, reach out.
Perfect. Are there any other places that we can find you other than your website and your Instagram that we should keep an eye out for? Any in-person events or anything like that?
If you're in San Diego, track me down and say hi. I go to a lot of networking events, and I'm new to San Diego. I've been down there for about 6 weeks now. And I'm getting to know the startup infrastructure and meet people and make friends. So I would love to know more people down there. So say hi. Yeah, otherwise, the either LinkedIn or Instagram or the website are the places that I'm the easiest to reach. It's nice to have just a few channels right now because bandwidth, like I don't want to manage 12 social media outlets. I'm like, okay, Instagram's enough for now.
Well, I'll drop all the links in the show notes so that you guys can stay in touch and watch out for this new product. I'm super pumped to try one out myself. Thanks, Micah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Aligned Impact. I'm truly grateful to have you here in this growing community of leaders, innovators, and conscious change makers. Check the show notes for all the links and resources we mentioned today, and you can explore more of my work and programs over at FlowShala.com or connect with me on social media at Summmer Huntington and YouTube as well for behind the scenes movement inspiration and business tips. Stay tuned for more episodes of Aligned Impact that inspire you to lead with intention, get empowered, and create aligned impact in your life and your community.